We're previewing Week 5 in the NFL here at SBRForum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking right now with Stephen O from EventDataServices.com. Stephen O models NFL. It's almost exclusively what he does now, and he gave us a winner last week with Denver. Stephen O, thanks for being back with us this week.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great pick on Denver last week. I have a feeling this might be kicking off another streak of wins, just like he did last year in our videos. Give a plug for EventDataServices.com before we discuss Miami-Baltimore.
Well, we're doing great. We're obviously 4 weeks in, but our high confident picks, which are the ones that we like the most, which we average around 10 a week, we are clicking right around 60% on those, which is what our 2-year average was. So we're really excited about that. Our clients are very happy. I also noticed, I don't know what you've heard, but it seems like a lot of buzz this year is that Vegas is having a great year, and a lot of people are getting crushed. And a lot of the bets with public action heavy on their side are losing. So we're pleased that in this apparent climate where people are struggling, we're actually having a very strong year.
Stephen O from EventDataServices.com. The game you want to discuss this week, Baltimore at Miami. Now, Miami is a 3-point home favorite, although that line has gotten, Baltimore's taking a little bit of action now, so now Baltimore +3 is juice. The total's 43.5, up from 42.5, and Miami, of course, kind of got exposed on Monday night by the Saints, although the Saints are a very quality team. Miami looking, they're not protecting Tannehill. They're not, Tannehill's not, gelling with Wallace that much. A lot of turnovers. The defense isn't really getting it done, so they're kind of having problems all over the field. It's not exactly clear to me, though, how much of that was just due to the Saints being, in top form right now, and how much of that is due to the real fundamental issues that Miami's going to have a hard time correcting. Baltimore, though, they lost to Buffalo, but overall they're playing pretty well. My initial lean on this was to the over, but given that both teams are having problems protecting the quarterback and that Miami might start running a little bit more, maybe that's not the right play. But I guess sitting here right now, I would have a slight lean towards the over and a slight lean towards Baltimore, but I completely will agree with whatever you have to say. What do you like here, Stephen O?
Well, I agree with you, especially with the over. I mean, our line is like 44, which is basically a non-pick versus 43.5. The reason why we like Baltimore, if you look at the betting line of Miami -3, it projects to a score of around Miami 23, Baltimore 20. And in our simulations, we actually have Miami right at 23 as well. So let's just call that 23. So the question for us is, can Baltimore score 21 or more? And they only scored 20. They scored 20 or less 2 games this year. But the Cleveland game, 2 missed field goals that were usually ones that Justin Tucker makes, and they scored 14 in the second half against what's now looking like a very good Browns defense. And then last week they had so many red zone opportunities. They had 5 interceptions. They still scored 20. Obviously, that team in terms of yardage, could have been poised to score substantially more than that. If you look at Miami's defense, even heading into the Saints game, they were like 26th in yards allowed. Now they're 27th. So we really love the Saints. That was our strongest pick of the week last week because we thought Miami's defense, at the time they were rated well in terms of points allowed, but really weren't nearly elite or even better than average. So I think Baltimore is a team, even when it's struggling, is a 23-point per game team. And if they're going against an average defense, even on the road, they're still probably good for 21 or more. And then as a Baltimore fan, I've always kind of noticed this trend that when we come out with a real stinker, whether it's scoring 9 last year against Kansas City, or anytime we have a 20-point or under performance, it seems like we bounce back pretty well the next week. Not necessarily from the offense scoring a ton of points, but whoever it is, offense playing better, opportunistic defense, we end up scoring more. And I looked at the last 7 times Baltimore scored 20 or less. And 6 out of those 7 times, all 7 times they scored more points the following week. And only once they not score at least 7 more than the previous week. And they average around 12 more after a horrible performance. So I'm not expecting them to necessarily come out and score 32 against Miami, but this is a team that bounces back from tough offensive performances. Joe Flacco is not a high interception kind of guy. The 5 interceptions is an absolute fluke. And I really think that Baltimore scoring 21 is against a team that ranks 27th in the league in defense in terms of yardage allowed is more than possible.
All right, so your official pick on this game is going to be Baltimore +3?
Yes.
All right, thanks so much, Stephen O from EventDataServices.com. We'll talk to you again next week.